The iconic Hollywood sign on Mount Lee violently shakes and crumbles as the catastrophic earthquake strikes the hills. Massive white letters slide helplessly into the deep abyss, dragging tons of rock and dust that obscure the view. At Santa Monica Beach, tourists freeze in terror, seeing a 100-meter dark water wall swallowing the entire horizon. The fragile wooden pier shatters instantly as the monstrous ocean wave strikes with unstoppable and devastating destructive power. The colorful Pacific Park Ferris wheel gets crushed like a plastic toy, twisted metal swept into the city. Murky floodwaters surge violently across the Walk of Fame, burying legendary star names under layers of filthy mud. Expensive supercars float aimlessly, crashing violently into luxury storefronts that have had all their glass windows completely shattered. The entire city of Los Angeles shakes as skyscrapers sway like giant pendulums before collapsing onto weak foundations. The U.S. Bank Tower is hit directly by the tsunami. Shattering glass rains down, slicing the surrounding air. Elevated highway systems snap in half, sending hundreds of vehicles free-falling into the roaring, swirling waters below the abyss. A stunned man stands amidst the rubble, blue eyes wide with horror, watching the water rising too fast. A woman struggles to hold onto a traffic light as the rushing current sweeps away everything around her. From above, the Los Angeles basin is now a deadly sea with giant whirlpools swallowing all life forms. Massive fires erupt on the water surface from leaking fuel, creating a hellish scene amidst the vast ocean. Civil defense sirens wail piercingly but remain completely hopeless against the absolute power of Mother Nature's devastation today. The camera submerges underwater, revealing familiar streets that have now become graveyards at the bottom of the cold ocean. The Griffith Observatory monument sinks, leaving only the white dome protruding lonely amidst the cruel and vast sea. No more traffic noise, no more bright neon lights, only the wind whistling through the bare concrete frames. A terrifying silence covers everything, signaling the end of a brilliant civilization on the coast of the Pacific. This is the worst-case scenario science predicted, the day the City of Angels officially broke its wings and sank. The scorching sun burns Venice Beach intensely, and the air seems to thicken, signaling an ominous bad omen. Seawater suddenly recedes kilometers away, revealing the barren seabed covered in dark, muddy sludge and ancient debris. Shipwrecks from the last century emerge under the harsh sun, looking like dry skeletons on the ocean floor. Tons of dead fish flop helplessly on the wet sand, mouths gasping desperately for a bit of oxygen. Massive blue whales charge straight onto the shore, exhibiting an unprecedented act of collective suicide and pure panic. The giant animal's eye holds extreme terror regarding something terrifying approaching from the deep bottom of the ocean. At the Pasadena Seismic Center, morning peace is shattered by the piercing sound of urgent red alert alarms. The seismograph needle moves frantically, surpassing all normal measurement limits of the Richter scale known to modern science. An old scientist drops his coffee cup, his face pale, realizing the catastrophe is finally striking the city. Computer screens display a glowing red epicenter just offshore, triggering a massive fracture line on the ocean floor. Deep underwater, a massive continental shelf slides into the abyss, creating a terrifying shockwave through the water. Shockwaves travel through water at sonic speeds, tearing apart everything in their path with unstoppable kinetic energy force. Back on land, the ground in downtown Los Angeles begins to ripple strangely, like the surface of a lake. Thousands of pigeons fly abruptly into the sky, forming a dark cloud that briefly obscures the bright sun. Dogs in the park bark frantically, snapping their leashes to run away from their owners in pure panic. Inside the office building, ceiling lights sway violently, and a water cup slides across the table and falls. The glass facades of skyscrapers begin to crack open, creating a terrifying crunching sound across the city skyline. Thousands of sharp glass shards fall from the 50th floor like a deadly meteor shower hitting the streets. Pedestrians on the sidewalks scream loudly, covering their heads with hands, running chaotically to find safe shelter immediately. On the 405 freeway, traffic remains gridlocked, bumper to bumper, unaware that death is approaching them very rapidly. An annoyed driver honks his horn loudly, unaware the concrete road is cracking beneath his tires right now. Reinforced concrete overpass pillars begin to show large cracks, spewing cement dust out into the surrounding dry air. High-voltage power lines snap, whipping onto the road, sparking fire, causing small consecutive explosions along the street. A sinkhole suddenly collapses in the middle of the intersection, swallowing a bus full of passengers instantly deep underground. Underground water pipes burst, shooting a towering column of water into the sky mixed with dirt and rocks. Two high-rise buildings collide, creating a loud explosion sound like a bomb. sending debris flying in all directions. A massive dust cloud rises from the city center, swallowing the midday sunlight and turning day into night. Back at the coast, sea levels begin to rise rapidly, swallowing the sand that was just exposed moments ago. On the distant horizon, a white strip appears, growing larger, accompanied by a roaring sound of approaching doom. Los Angeles has officially entered the hour of life and death, with no escape for millions of people. The massive 150-meter tsunami wave strikes Long Beach port with the power of a nuclear bomb. Massive port cranes are bent and snapped like matchsticks under the unimaginable pressure of the rushing ocean water. Cargo container ships weighing hundreds of thousands of tons are lifted, airborne, and thrown violently into the mainland. Thousands of colorful shipping containers rain down on streets like toy bricks, crushing everything underneath them instantly. A coastal residential area is completely flattened in mere seconds, leaving absolutely no trace of life behind. Dark, murky water carries cars, trees, and house debris, forming a moving wall of trash and destruction. Los Angeles International Airport sinks underwater. Runways turn into an ocean floor littered with destroyed airplane wreckage. A Boeing 747 is swept away by the current, crashing into the passenger terminal and exploding violently. Black smoke columns rise from the airport, mixing with salty water mist to create a deadly landscape scene. Water spills into the San Fernando Valley, turning it into a massive and devastating reservoir of destruction. Beautiful suburban houses are lifted off foundations, floating aimlessly like fragile paper boats on the dark water. Downtown, water rises to the 10th floor, turning streets into deep water canyons between the skyscrapers. The famous Wilshire Grand Center Tower has its foundation eroded by floodwaters and begins to tilt dangerously. Steel structures roar with piercing sounds, glass shatters completely as the building loses its center of gravity. A Caucasian man looks frantically through the glass window as the opposite tower collapses right towards him. The massive tower collapses, creating a domino effect that pulls down a series of other nearby buildings. Concrete dust rises thickly, but is immediately and completely swallowed by the hungry, rushing floodwaters below. The metro subway system becomes giant high-pressure water pipes channeling floodwaters deep underneath the city ground. Extreme water pressure compresses air, blowing street manhole covers into the air like missiles launching upward. Water columns erupt from the ground tens of meters high, destroying the asphalt road surface all around. Vincent Thomas Bridge snaps, cables whipping out violently into space like deadly lashes of destruction. Trucks moving on the bridge fall freely into the swirling water filled with sharp debris and wreckage. Dodger Stadium turns into a giant swimming pool, stands submerged in mud and floating debris everywhere. The Hollywood sign is washed away by landslides, buried under the rubble of the collapsing hill. An Asian woman hugs her child tightly on a roof, watching the water rise every single second. Transformer stations explode sequentially, creating green fireballs dancing eerily on the surface of the dark water. A hospital ground floor floods. Medical staff hurriedly move patients to higher floors to save their lives. Water shatters mall glass doors, sweeping away mannequins that look like floating bodies in the current. A Labrador dog swims desperately in the current, trying to climb onto a floating car for safety. Old apartment buildings cannot withstand water pressure, collapsing down like fragile houses made of playing cards. A luxury yacht is washed onto the boulevard by waves, lying stranded awkwardly in the middle of the street. Sharks and sea creatures begin appearing, swimming between buildings, hunting prey in the flooded city streets. An electronic billboard flickers and dies out, symbolizing the collapse of modern civilization in this city. From a high-angle view, highways turn into raging rivers, flowing violently out towards the open sea. Flames from gas explosions begin to spread widely, and absolutely nothing can extinguish them at this moment. A group of people tries to build a raft from debris to navigate the fierce flood currents. Nature demonstrates absolute power, turning the modern super metropolis into a pile of desolate ruins and destruction. There is no boundary between land and ocean. Los Angeles is now part of the Pacific Ocean. Faint cries for help echo weakly amidst the roaring wind and the violent crashing of ocean waves. Humans become tiny and completely helpless before the brutal punishment of Mother Earth on this fateful day. Night falls as civilization's light fades, and total darkness completely swallows the submerged city in silence. But darkness does not last long, as spreading oil fires begin to erupt violently on the water. Thick, toxic black smoke rolls in, choking the humid air already filled with the scent of death. Millions of survivors cluster on rooftops, shivering in the bone-chilling cold of the dark ocean night. Smartphones become useless bricks. No signal, no internet. Completely isolated from the rest of the world. Social order collapses as supermarkets are looted while people fight desperately for every single bottle of water. Survival instincts rise strongly. People are ready to trample each other to secure their own lives. Search helicopter spotlights sweep across the water, illuminating the desperate lives clinging to debris in the dark. A woman bows her head, crying sobbingly, holding only a soaked family photo in her trembling hands. A man sits staring blankly into the void, psychological trauma leaving him emotionally paralyzed and completely numb. Children's toys, books, and mementos float aimlessly like ghosts of the past on the dark water surface. At the hospital, backup generators run out of fuel, ventilators stop working, and life fades away slowly. A rescue flare shoots into the sky, tracing a bright red line of hope amidst the pitch-black night. Ocean predators begin to intrude deeper into the city, smelling the scent of blood in the water. Gunshots ring out somewhere in the night, a sign of chaos when the law no longer exists. Cold winds from the sea blow in carrying deadly chill, threatening those who survived outdoors tonight. The darkest hours before dawn pass slowly, like centuries of mental torture for the exhausted survivors. Seen from satellite, the bright region of Los Angeles is now just a massive black hole. Los Angeles today serves as the most expensive lesson for human arrogance before the power of Mother Nature. What we build takes centuries, but the Earth needs only minutes to completely wipe it out forever.